When you start, Dawn, by you're being celebrated, honoured by Patchwork, what does working with, engaging with underrepresented communities mean to you?
It's almost like my life's work, my ambition. It's who I am physically, obviously, as a black woman. And to think that I can help pave the way for other people who are coming up behind me just gives me great joy. And I was thinking the other day when I was doing a speech, and I said, they talk about this ladder of success. And I say, when you're on a ladder of success, you should lay the foundations for an escalator. And if you're on that escalator of success, you should lay the foundations for a lift. And therefore, those people coming behind you should be able to reach that destination a lot quicker than yourself. And you should just be joyous at that thought.
Okay, so how do you measure success? How do you personally measure success in your work in trying to engage communities?
So I measure success, essentially getting up every morning, I think is a success. But I measure success by the number of people who talk to me about politics, the conversations that I have about communities, the number of people that want to come in and intern with me, the number of people who want to just get engaged in civil life and civil society. For me, that's all success. It's not necessarily holding a position, it's holding a point of view and a desire to make the country, the world, Brent, my constituency, better. And also equality. What I love is when kind of people go on a journey and when they realise that equality means equality. So fighting for somebody else's rights doesn't in any way neglect the fight for your rights. It doesn't take anything away. So I can fight for a gay person. I'm not gay. It doesn't take away, my rights as a black woman, but it helps to make this country more fairer and more equal.
So pick your example, whichever one you like, whether it's black people, whether it is whatever community you want to pick on, or all. What are the obstacles in your mind that need to be overcome? Is it suspicion of the political system? Is it a feeling that the way the country is run is somehow nothing to do with that? Is it beyond them? Is it out of their reach? How do you describe it yourself, Dawn?
It's kind of all of those things, really. If you don't see yourself reflected in a structure, sometimes it's hard to imagine yourself there. So if you don't see somebody there who looks like you, who talks like you, who maybe went to the same kind of school that you did, you kind of think, well, this is not the place for you. So all of those things are barriers and real barriers. And so we kind of have to break down those barriers.
It still seems like an elite. It still seems something beyond reach.
It does. I mean, there's something like 35% of MPs went to private school and only 7% of society as a large. But, equally, I think that's what Patchwork does so well, is that it brings people in and it brings people into number 10. It brings people into Parliament. It says, you can work here. You can be an MP. You can do all of these things and we will help you to make it happen. And look at all of these MPs who are working with us. They're just like you. You can hold a conversation with them. And I think that's important because that helps to break down those barriers. It helps to break down those mental barriers and it helps to break down the physical barriers of stepping, into this place that can be quite daunting.
And you're particularly concerned with people who are deaf.
Yes. My work with the deaf community is just phenomenal. I love being a part of the deaf community. I always want to sign when I'm talking about deaf people.
You describe the deaf community. Yes. It is a community.
It's a community, yes, absolutely. It's a community. And how I became interested in sort of British Sign Language and deaf communities, when I was at college, we had two deaf students there. And I just learned to sign my name. I didn't really take much more of an effort than that, but I was always very conscious that, we didn't engage as much as we could have done. There was some engagement, but not enough for me. And then when I started in the civil service, there was a person who was deaf, and I thought, right, that's it, I'm going to go and learn British Sign Language, and I did. And then coming to this place and then signing the question on the floor of the House, I wasn't actually expecting the response that I got. And when I received that response, it made me realise that this is a part of society that's been neglected. And so that's why I fought so hard to have British Sign Language Act put into the Labour Party's manifesto so that British Sign Language could get full legal recognition. And I'm so pleased that it's been embraced, and I hope that we can accomplish that sooner rather than later.
Among your other MPs, how widely is it recognised that it's important to engage in the way that we're discussing here? And what advice would you give to other MPs, if you would give any advice?
Some MPs, I think it's important. Some MPs don't. I mean, it's the same argument that I had with engaging young people when I was the youth minister. People saying, why are you bothering? You know, young people don't vote. But when you fail to engage young people, you're the person that's at fault, not that young person. And as we've seen, you know, lots of young people came out to vote in the last election this year. So for the MPs who don't take it seriously, I'd say neglect the work that Patchwork does at your peril, because sooner or later these really bright and competent young people will probably be coming after their jobs.
And things in that respect have improved, haven't they? There has been quite a lot of progress.
There has been progress. Progress is very slow in this place, really, really slow. But there has been progress. And the more we push for progress, the more progress that will happen. So we can never take our foot off of that pedal. You know, we've always got to be really conscious that, you know, when we start to relax, then complacency will set in.
Dawn, thank you very much.
Thank you, John.